Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Thread. We're back on to the remote version of the Daily Thread.
Right.
You are in
I'm at the
Florida.
southern headquarters of the Daily Thread and Meaningful People. And I have to tell you, by the
Yeah,
way, that this past Saturday night's Meaningful People with Jakob Klein was out of the ordinary. It was really something
thank
special.
you.
What a smart, intelligent, incisive young man. He's a product
Well
of the
beyond his years.
he's a product of the system the yeshiva system that all our kids went to, but he grabbed all of it and internalized it, and in a way remade it for himself and to those that are near him. And
Yeah.
it was just, you know what? It's one of the few programs that you produced that I think I'm going to have to listen to again, just to
Oh, wow.
just to to,
I think
to grab all the juice.
I think that's a compliment, right?
Yeah, listen, don't I only compliment you, so.
Yeah, of
I have
course.
I have two settings. Either I compliment you or I shut up. Those are my two. Those are my two settings.
Anyways, today is Monday, and there is so much happening all around the world. My father and I were speaking before we came on the program over here, and we were saying how the things we discussed last week, or even 2 weeks ago, about Pesach, and last week about Ezra Friedlander, is
Pesach.
such old
When was
news.
Pesach?
It's such old news.
Yeah, Ezra
It's like
Friedlander and Ilan Omar's old news. The hotel in Atlantic City. What? What hotel? What Atlantic City?
exactly. It's incredible how the world keeps turning and things keep happening. Hopefully, good things. But today we have some good and some bad. Let's first start off by saying
Yeah.
today is the Yartzheit of Reb Shayala ben Reb Moshe, Rabbi Yeshaya Steiner, Shai of Karastir, who was
China
born in
Kerosene.
1851.
Wow.
He was
Yeah.
born in 1851 in Zabrov, which is near Bardejov, which is today it's Slovakia.
Okay.
When he was 3 years old, his father passed away. At the age of 12, his mother sent him to study in Hungary
Yeah.
by Reb Tzvi Hirsch of Liska.
Yeah. Okay.
And Reb Tzvi Hirsch of Liska later appointed Reb Shaya the Gabbai. And when Tzvi Hirsch died and his son-in-law Reb Chaim Friedlander, the author of the Tal Chaim, succeeded him, Reb Shayala started traveling to Rabbi Chaim Halberstam of Sanz. He's known for his hospitality. There's Rav Shayla's kitchen, right? He always was known to feed the people who couldn't afford to be
Right.
fed. People also hang up a picture of Shayla to scare away mice.
Yeah, I heard about that, and I've seen some construction sites in the five towns where you used to live and where I live most of the time. I saw like outside of a construction site because they don't want mice or any kind of rodents to invade the property because they tend to be drawn towards construction, I guess, for some reason. They hang a picture of Reb Shayla. It's very,
Do we
very
know the source for
interesting.
that? What do we know why that is?
No, I don't. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have some homework to do. But I want to tell you that last night I got a text message very late at night.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine from Yerushalayim, Reb Naftali Weiss, who
Mm-hmm.
is a grandson of the old Spinker Rebbe, who used to live in Crown Heights. The son of Isaac Weiss. He sent me a thing. It's in Yiddish. It says, "Where is he?" He sent me his location on
Yeah.
WhatsApp. It says Reb Shayala's guest house. Reb Shayala's guest house. He's there for a couple of days, and he's including us and all our family and his tefillahs. He's davening for us at the keva of Reb Shayala. And I spoke to him this morning directly, so we have a direct connection to Reb Shayala's Yartzheit. You know, uh, Reb Shayala is really, he was a miracle worker in a way.
That's what. Yeah, it even says that on the Wikipedia page that I have in front of me. It says Reb Shayla became a Hasidic Rebbe and became known as a miracle worker, and tens of thousands of Hasidim came to his court. And it says here in a Rashi on Wikipedia, it says before long, Reb Shayla gained fame as a miracle worker, a tzaddik whose prayers are answered, and a man of legendary generosity. From near and far, people flocked to him, seeking his advice and his help. And now, today, even you see in Karastir how many people have flocked to his cave or to daven,
Right,
and they
right.
say they say they say amazing things happen, miracles happen. So,
It's a beautiful
wanna
thing. For some reason, one of the things I always remember is a video that popped up on screen where a guy is stopped by state troopers on the Palisades or on the thruway,
yes, yes,
and he's speeding, and the cop comes over to him. He opens his window and he says, license registration. And the guy said to him, Shai Reb Moshe. What?
Yeah, maybe we'll show the video. And the cop is like, I'm not sure what you're trying to tell me. And it's like a young teenager, and he's like, Reb Shai
Shai
ben
Reb
Moshe.
Moshe.
And the cop is like, what? I'm not sure what you're trying to tell me.
Yeah.
And the kid just kept saying Reb
Shai
Shayala ben Moshe until the cop said, okay, 1 second. He comes back, he says, just slow down, and he leaves him. He leaves him, and the kid couldn't believe it. The kid was going nuts. He couldn't believe it. But
Well,
yeah, Neshama Shev and Aliyah, and everyone who needs a miracle in their life should be answered on this day, in this special day.
Amen.
On to our other stories. We know that tomorrow is Yom Hazikaron. We mourn the passing. We remember the soldiers who have passed away, and it seems like the Arabs, it seems like terrorists are finding this to be an opportunity to attack Israel. There is terror activity this morning in Eretz Yisrael. 5 were injured. One was very seriously injured in a ramming attack in the Shuk by Machne Yehuda. Like, that's not a place. That's not Huara. And not to say that Huara is a place where terrorist attacks are okay to happen, but the Shuk, this is a place that I would say a big majority of the people listening to this podcast have walked.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a second attack, also a ramming attack at the end of Rehov Agrippas, which comes down to King George Street, right near Jaffa Road, where very few cars really could travel, because Jaffa Road doesn't have car traffic anymore. It has the light rail. And Agrippas, which goes up to Machne Yehuda, at that point, you can't drive on it. But there was a car ramming attack there, too. And you're right that this is intentional. Of course, it's always intentional. But this is meant to coincide and to mar both Yom HaZikaron, and which is followed the next day by Yom HaTzmaut.
It's a terrible thing. I see that in this car ramming attack. There's a little bit of a blurb here about the terrorist, which we're not going to say his name because we don't need to say his name. But he's a 39-year-old from Beitz Tzafafa. He's married. He had 5 children, and he had a background of nationalistic offenses as well as mental health issues. A witness to the attack said he saw the terrorist smiling as he rammed his car into pedestrians. We know that there are people who are seriously hurt. There are people who are lightly hurt, but this is another.
I've been in Beit Tzafafa. It's a neighborhood in Jerusalem. It's a upper middle class neighborhood. It's a lot of Arabs living there in fairly nice homes, and there's a lot of. I was there with Aryeh King, who's a member of the Jerusalem City Council, because there's a lot of homes there that on the real estate record keeping in Jerusalem. The sun's going down a little bit, so I can see you now. There a lot of homes there. A lot of real estate there is really owned by Jews going back to the 1800s, but the Arab residents just took it over. And a guy like Aryeh King he fights in court to get the properties back to the Jews. So, these are nationalistic crimes, like you said, and the objective is to hurt Jews.
And there's another element to this attack, which we've seen this and we've heard about this in the past, but this is something that happened here this morning in Eretz Yisrael. So it says here in Yeshiva World, a terrorist who disguised himself as a Haredi Jew. He rammed his car at a high speed into the pedestrian waiting at the crosswalk. A civilian who witnessed the scene shot the driver and he killed him. In a video of the scene, after he was shot, a passerby can be heard screaming, "It's a Jew! It's a Jew!" It wasn't a Jew. It was a 39-year-old Arab terrorist, but he dressed up like a Haredi Jew.
Yeah, it's a big problem. It's a big problem, and big problem for many years already, with hitchhikers wearing kippas ruga, and Israelis being to an extent, being very trusting, and it's created problems over the years. We need divine protection. We need Shai Reb Moshe to protect us here and there and mamish everywhere. But I did send you something earlier today, which says that of course, the Yom HaZikaron, which is today, we're mourning the loss of 24,213 people that died in Israel's wars and also died in terrorist attacks since 1948. And when you think that only a country of 9 million
by
people.
the way, I want to cut you off. That's a very auspicious number, considering we're in the days of Sfira, and we know Rabbi Akiva lost 24,000 students.
Yeah, that's a good.
Today,
good point.
We're mourning over 24,000.
24,213. Right. Hopefully, that's it. Hopefully, there'll be never again anything like there'll be no more carbonos, no more casualties, no more victims. But it's something that I think we should all be able to. If it's anything, Israel is very divided. If there's anything that
Yeah.
we should be able to come together over, it is remembering those who lost their lives fighting in Israel. And of course, we're talking about victims of terror. People sitting in their homes during a Shabbos meal sometimes, or driving their car to visit their mother or their grandmother, and then being shot at and killed. The very diverse type of circumstances. You can't say that X, Y, and Z happened, therefore that's why they were killed. They lived in a dangerous
Yeah.
spot. They lived here. They lived. You can't say that. Look, they
Well,
went
let's
shot.
discuss for a second why, Yom Hazikaron, me growing up in yeshiva, I don't know if it was observed or if it was just really just not spoken about. Now, is there a reason? Is there a reason that Yom Hazikaron seems to be one of these days that is maybe for many of the right wing yeshivas or the mainstream yeshivas, depending what you consider mainstream, for lack of a better term, is like neglected?
Listen, the problem, I believe, and I'm trying to work out the problem in my head while we're talking about it.
Yeah.
The problem, I believe, begins with the nature, historically, the nature of the Israeli government being so-called secular government, secular Zionist government, which tries to push the country in the direction of, less Shabbos observance, less kashrus observance, moving away wanting to be like what Mary Kahana used to call, they want the country to be a Hebrew speaking Portugal, not necessarily. See, but at the same time, one of the biggest obstacles between Israel and the Palestinians that makes it so that they cannot achieve it. Can't sit down at a table to discuss peace because the Palestinians refuse to say they recognize Israel as a Jewish state. You know what? Once in a way, it's a good thing the Palestinians can't say that because I don't know how the Jews would deal with that. What is a Jewish state? What makes a Jewish state Jewish? That's
Well,
what.
again, but you like we just said, Yom Zikaron is a day where we're mourning the people who have passed, and like you said, we should all be able to rally and
Come
get
together.
together for
Yeah.
something like that. I understand, I don't. People who have an issue with Yom Ha'atzmaut, they feel like, we're in Gullus, Israel independence. They feel uncomfortable, whatever. But Yom Zikaron, a day where the soldiers have passed away and people have passed away from terrorist attacks. These are Jews that were mourning. Is it the uncomfortability with instituting a day for something after the Anshe Knesset Gadol are not around? Is
Well,
that it?
the right wing, the so-called from I don't know where that name came from, but the Haredim, the right wing, they say there is a day like that on the Jewish calendar. It's called Tisha B'av. Uh,
Right, and I hear that, by the way. Tisha B'av is the day where we mourn all of the atrocities, including the Churban, including the
yeah,
Holocaust, including everything. So maybe that's where the bone to pick is like, why are we creating another day of mourning? We have a day of mourning now. This could be a day of mourning that the Israeli government institutionalized, but it doesn't mean it's a day of mourning that us Haredim, us from, need to mourn. Hashem created for us Tisha B'av.
Well, listen, and this year there's a extra added problem to the equation. You have since there's a great divide in Israel over the judicial reform, which we discussed a few times over the last few weeks, and they're still trying to negotiate some kind of a compromise agreement that everybody could come to terms with. Um, Certain people from the left, and I don't know who. I'm trying to work it out in an article I'm writing for this week too. I'm trying to work it out. Certain people they requested that if you're a member of the Knesset, if you're in the Israeli government, let's say you're Yitzhak Goldknopf, the head of the United Torah Judaism Party, or you're Aryeh Deri from Shas, or you're Itamar Ben Gvir from Religious Zionists, they're saying, you know what? If you didn't serve in the IDF, then you have no business coming to a memorial service. And some of the people, like Rabbi Goldknopf, said, you know what, you're right. I'm not going to go. I didn't serve in the army. I'm not going to memorial service. And I think that's a wrong decision. Ben Gvir said he's going to go to a memorial service that's taking place in Beersheba. What in the world is going on here? If I have a friend that got into a skiing accident and was going down the slopes and broke both his legs, does that mean I can't visit him because I didn't go down and ski? I didn't go down a ski slope and break my leg. Baruch
I
Hashem.
don't know. It seems like a political. It seems like a political debate, and I personally believe that there is no place for politics when it comes to discussions like this, when it comes to mourning loved ones, the Holocaust, mourning people who were lost in terrorist attacks. I despise when presidents here in the United States get up after a mass shooting and use it as an opportunity to lobby for gun control. Like, this is not a time to lobby for something. Let's not stand on the graves of people and push a political agenda. Let's mourn and let's say that this is a terrible thing that happened. Let's come together and let's be unified. I hate the fact that things are politicized and things that should not be politicized. I'm
So
sorry, it should not be politicized.
yesterday, Ben Gvir said something that caught my attention. He said he's a minister in the government. Anyone that has a job as a minister in the government that has the ability to send Israeli kids into war has a right and an obligation to participate in a memorial ceremony, remembering those
Hundred
that
percent,
gave their lives. So
100% they
the
should.
the left is so far off
One
base.
second. I'm having trouble understanding why everyone in Eretz Yisrael can't come together and mourn the loss of the people who have passed. Now, unless you're going to come and tell me that, listen, it's Bittul Torah, we mourn on Tisha B'av, we have a day of mourning in the Jewish calendar, we don't need to go ahead and stop learning for a day like this. Um,
That's exactly.
I'm not a Rav, I can't paskin. But if this is a way to make a Kiddush Hashem and to be more unified in Klal Yisrael, is that not? I don't know. I think it's a
Oh,
question of Bittul Torah. I
we
don't think it's a
don't. So you
question
know what?
other than that.
We said it the other day. We said it the other day. You don't have to stop learning. You don't have to go. You don't have to go up. You don't have to leave yeshiva and go to a demonstration or march in a parade. I know the yeshivas in New York and probably in other cities. When it comes to the Israel Day parade, which doesn't take place until I think early June, they have to find the day when Fifth Avenue is available to march on. Otherwise, it would be closer to
Yeah,
Israel Independence Day, and you got to find a day when the weather is better so that everybody can show up. It's a beautiful display of unity and support for Israel, but you don't have to go to feel connected to Eretz Yisrael and to the state of Israel. You don't have to. You don't have to close the Gemara. You don't have to. You don't. No one's making that a fundamental requirement of celebrating or marking or observing a day, whether it's Yom Hazikaron, Yom Ha'atzmaut. You don't have to close the Gemara and and indulge in Bittul Torah. That's not required. So
and what is?
it's no. You should. You know what? What do they do in Eretz Yisrael today? You know what they did today, Eretz Yisrael? I think at 12 noon, everybody stopped whatever they were doing. Cars stopped on the highways, and people stepped out of their cars and stood at attention. And they had sirens blaring for 2 minutes, for 120 seconds, 2 minutes throughout the entire country. And people just stood together. All Israelis stood together, and they just had in mind the memory of the people who sacrificed their lives for Eretz Yisrael. That's what you got to do. You have to stand up, and you have to, and maybe you have a little bit extra kavanah when you nami mental in yeshiva, and when you say, Yerushalayim ircha barachim toshu, or b'sechazenu eneinu b'shuvcha l'tzion barachim, we should return to Sion, and God should. No one's trying to remove God from the equation, chas v'shalom. Now,
Right.
but the next day, the beautiful thing, by the way, that I've always admired as a kid, even and now as an adult, the way uh, when Israel, the way it flows for Yom Hazikaron into mass celebration of Yom Ha'atzmaut, which will also be on Hay Ear. Uh, the way they seamlessly flow from mourning to great celebration, and that's something that only a very courageous and a very strong people can do.
For
But
sure. No, absolutely. And it was only last week where many observed Yom HaShoah. So it's like so much has happened in the last 2 weeks. But again, I'm trying to understand, and I could put it into words, but I don't know the reason for it. I don't know if you do either.
what's that?
Why in again more in the right. It sounds like you got a nice bird over there in front of you.
You're so sensitive to the sounds.
No, it sounds beautiful.
It
It
happens to be a
sounds
beautiful
beautiful.
day. About an hour ago it was pouring.
Sounds like a monkey actually. Is there a monkey on your porch?
There's no. First of all, my porch is screened in, so I'm not afraid of the monkeys or the alligators. I don't think, but
Okay, good.
there's no alligators here. There's some ducks walking around.
Let me ask you, for the Haredi institutions and for the yeshivas, Yom Ha'atzmaut is not a thing. if a kid were to walk in wearing like a blue shirt like I'm wearing right now, they would get side eyed
Is that
on Yom Ha'atzmaut.
is that Collars and Co? Is that Collars and
This
Co
is
shirt?
Collars and Co. It looks
Okay.
amazing, doesn't it?
Yeah, I just
Looks
want I
incredible.
want I want
Anyways,
I want to throw a plug in there. Just
yeah, thank you. It looks a lot better than your collar.
well, I don't know. You didn't get me my shirt yet. It's probably coming
I gotta
today.
get you one.
It's probably coming today with
Listen,
UPS.
you just got to use promo code meaningful for 15% off. Okay, there's our plug. But anyways, what's with that? What's with the fact that like Yom Ha'atzmaut is not a thing in the yeshivas?
Well, listen, there's a great divide. There's a great divide in terms of what is the role of the modern state of Israel in the life of a religious Jew, a Torah observant Jew. Now you have to understand, you don't like the government, you don't like the Shabbos observance is not good enough for you. That's fine and good, and a lot of that criticism might be credible. Okay,
Right.
and there's a lot of things that I'd like to see improved in how a Jewish state runs Jewishly, but at the same time, you have to consider the fact that the state of Israel is the greatest supporter of Torah learning in the world. There's no country in the world where so many people are sitting and learning day and
Besides
night
for
in
Louis,
yeshivas.
besides for Louis Shiner.
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't checked Louis China's finances, but I'm sure he's a big supporter of the Mir, for example, that has 6,000 talmidim in just one yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, and it's the greatest. Eretz Yisrael deserves respect from our camp. Let me call it our camp, so to speak.
Yeah.
They deserve respect out of that fact alone. They are and this is financially supported by the state of Israel. You know, the
Yeah.
Haredi young men, the yeshiva students, they get stipends, they get money for support their families, they get subsidized for the rent, they get subsidized for food, their children get subsidized through the entire life. I think at least till they turn 21, they get a check every month for each kid. So it's you know what I think
You don't have the answer either.
no, I'm trying to work the problem out. You know, I told you that
Well,
I came from a time when you took a regents, you had to show the paperwork on how you figured out the problem. You couldn't just sit there on a
well, let me ask
calculator.
you. Speaking of your time in the late 1800s, was
Yes,
Yom Ha'atzmaut? I'm kidding. Well, Yom Ha'atzmaut was around when you were growing up, correct?
of course. It marks the founding of the state of Israel, which happened 1948.
Right.
It happens to be the
I just
75th
wanted I just wanted to
anniversary.
confirm for our listeners that you were born after 48. So okay, we
Yes,
confirmed.
yes, way after 48.
Um.
About 10 years after that, approximately.
So
But
so again, the question is, in your yeshivas, were they machshav Yom Ha'atzmaut, or is also just not a thing?
no, the first of all, I don't want to get into a conversation about how yeshivas are run. I don't want to criticize yeshivas. I have too many grandchildren, Baruch Hashem, in a lot of yeshivas. But it's never been managed properly. It's never been managed well.
I mean, the
Um,
response,
you know,
the yeah.
the Hanhola, the administration of yeshivas, and more right leaning yeshivas. You know, for example, okay, I went to Chaim Berlin for a few years in high school, so they lived in fear that someone's going to sneak out and go to the Israeli Day Parade. You know, okay, I don't know what they lived in fear about. They lived in fear about them missing learning. They lived in fear about the fact that no one's going to know where they are. They had lived in fear that they're going to be mixing with boys and girls with boys, and there wouldn't be a shidduch crisis if they would have done that.
Oh,
You know,
there it is.
a lot of these things boils down to that. If you really
No, please.
want to analyze it, so they lived in fear. I mean, if someone saw you at the Israeli Day Parade, first of all, the question was, what were they doing there that they saw you there?
Well, I think the Israeli Day Parade is bad news. Honestly,
No,
I think it's
listen, it used to be
I think it's
fun.
bad news.
It used to be
I've no I've
fun. It's a big crowd. You don't like big crowds, you don't have to go there. You don't have to. You don't belong there. But
I
listen,
think if you want to support Israel, like you said, you don't have to leave. You don't have to leave the base medrash. You don't have to like going marching down Fifth Avenue. I don't think is like, oh yes, this is my support for Eretz Yisrael. Like I think there are other ways to do it
Nachi,
than to mix with the type of crowd that I don't know.
when Jews have extreme disagreements that are well publicized, The non-Jews enjoy it a heck of a lot. They enjoy it way, way too much, and that alone should be something that defers us or convinces us not to indulge in these kind of public disputes. These are decisions. These are private decisions that people have to make. Go to a parade. Go to a parade. Stand at
Right.
attention. Not stand out of attention. It's very. We can't simplify the issues.
Nope.
They're very complex. But the point is Israel's enemies, and even not their enemies, just people from the outside, non-Jews. They're
They're
just
detractors.
they're so excited when they see Jews disagreeing and stuff and battling each other and criticizing each other and it's just it's not a good thing. We really have to figure out a way. I know we've heard it for decades. We've got to come together and we have to be unified on some level in some way.
Yeah. And I kind of think that this is maybe a day like today, Yom Hazikaron is a day where everyone can come together and be like, hey, listen, we're mourning the people who lost their lives. It doesn't mean we don't have to tear Kriya. We don't have to,
You
we
know,
don't have to go to any crazy extent, but I
Nachi,
don't know.
look,
Yeah.
the Jews that were shot at and killed, no one questioned whether they were wearing tzitzis or not, whether how long they stood Shemot Esrei for. That was the criteria for our enemies. And a lot of non-Jews were killed because they looked like Jews. All they had to do was just that you might be a Jew was good enough for them to take a shot at you and to try to kill you.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to, and we have to have that in
Yeah.
mind, I think.
Absolutely. Well, that's our episode of the Daily Thread today.
Okay.
I guess it's worth mentioning that if you're a New Yorker and it's like a sports fan, it's playoff season. It's pretty exciting. You have the Rangers who are playing well, the Knicks that are playing well. So pretty cool. Pretty
Yeah.
cool for our Jewish brethren out there who are sports fans.
No, I know
Um,
it's a big giant step for us to go in the direction of sports, but
I know, right?
yeah, but as they're in those first few rows of the Madison Square Garden. There's quite a few yarmulkes
Oh yeah,
that can be seen, and they're big Knicks fans.
good
And
times, good
the
times.
Knicks look like they're doing well, even though I don't know Julius Randle like non-existent yesterday. And just think what happens if he has a good game coming up on the next game.
You know what? It was very interesting. His body language is like so terrible yesterday, and the coach benched him. Like this is such a
Really,
Moshe Haskell, by the way. The coach
yeah,
benched him in the fourth quarter. The team was playing
really,
amazing. The coach
yeah,
benched him,
yeah,
didn't put him back in, and he
yeah,
refused to speak to the media after the game. So
yeah.
like here's where he's supposed to be the best player on the team. He maybe got put in his place a little bit because he just wasn't playing well, and then he threw a little bit of a fit,
What?
and he didn't want to speak to the media. I don't know.
Let's say they get past this series with whoever they're playing. Who are they playing now? They're playing the. Remind me who they're playing.
Cleveland.
Oh, remind. Let's say they get past the game with the Cavaliers. They're up 3-1. Who do they play
I think
next?
Boston. I
Oh,
think Boston. No,
that's a I don't know. That's a tough team.
that's not fun. Nope, that's
It's a
not
tough
fun.
team. All right, but you know what? It's a big step if they make it into the next level of the playoffs. It's like
There's a lot of excitement. First of all, shout out to the workers who work in Madison Square Garden, who also work in the not used to be Staples Center in LA, but now it's the Crypto Arena or something. They have
really,
to change over. They have to change over from ice to basketball within hours. There was a game on Shabbos
oh yeah,
afternoon.
yeah,
No, on Friday night.
yeah,
There's a
yeah.
game on Friday night that
Basketball,
was no.
basketball
Let
game.
me rephrase. There was a hockey game, Motzei Shabbos,
Yeah,
Rangers versus
yeah,
Devils in
yeah,
Madison Square Garden,
yeah,
ice.
yeah,
And the next, and like 12 hours later, there was
yeah,
a Knicks game at 1:30 in the afternoon that it was basketball, and they
yeah.
needed to change around the whole arena. Well, shout out to them, and shout out to you for listening to the Daily Thread. We really appreciate your support. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. We'll be back at you with another episode on tomorrow's Daily Thread. Of course, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, make sure to email us at thedailythread@meaningfullearning.org, or you can go ahead and leave a comment on this video on YouTube. Have an amazing, amazing day.